Death is the cessation of the physical body, the end of our current, material existence. Life, as we know it, is tied to our physical form. When the body dies, its elements return to nature, but the soul and spirit transition to a higher, non-physical state. This spiritual realm is what many faiths call heaven. In ancient Egyptian belief, death was a doorway to a richer existence. Elaborate 70-day burial rites, grave goods, and the opening of the mouth ceremony symbolize the soul's passage and its reanimation for the journey beyond. Energy cannot be destroyed, so consciousness disperses back into the universe even as the individual self fades after a short period. Accounts describe divine beings descending and intermingling with humans, but they involve different councils and species. The 24 elders represent a mixed assembly, not solely Anunnaki but also beings from other lineages, for example, Hindu-derived entities, who oversee cosmic orders and, in that narrative, descended to interact with humanity. The 200 fallen angels were followers of a specific leader, Enlil's faction, who interbred with human women, producing offspring that became the Nephilim or giants. Though similar in theme, divine descent and forbidden unions, they concern distinct celestial assemblies and motives within the broader mytho-historical framework. Some advanced extraterrestrial beings ally with certain factions, for example, the Anunnaki, to preserve Earth's biosphere and its resources, preferring stewardship over its destruction. Others back opposing agendas. Their collaborations can be pragmatic, my enemy's enemy is my friend, uniting against even more destructive species like the Andromedans, who view life more ruthlessly. When these beings incarnate in human form to impart knowledge, for example, Pa-Nabab Yanun teachings, they aim to guide humanity's transition, spiritually and technologically, toward a higher state. After death or eventual transition, humanity's spirits enter another plane or dimension designated by cosmic law, not an annihilated void. In our tradition, invoking the word sin, even in vows to stop sinning, energizes and calls upon that very force. The term sin, Nin Nar Sin, is also one of the deity names. Repeatedly speaking the term can inadvertently chant or summon its influence. Therefore, we avoid saying sin altogether, substituting instead affirmative phrases like I act in righteousness. There are two distinct wars or cast-out revolts in the scriptures. The first is a pre-creation rebellion, read in prophetic and mystical texts, where certain exalted etheric beings, cherubim and seraphim, rebelled against the divine order and were expelled from the heavens. The second appears in Genesis 6, a later descent of those watchers who interbred with humanity, leading to catastrophic hybrid offspring. Though both involve heavenly beings cast down, they occur at separate epochs and involve different participants and outcomes. Refill implies reconstruction or renewal. That's why, when God first commanded humanity, he told Adam and Eve to be fruitful, multiply, and refill the earth. If they were truly the first humans, he would simply have said fill. The word refill suggests a prior population that had been destroyed, ushering in a new beginning, our Genesis account. The pre-Adamite inhabitants included various strange beings, some just 4 feet tall, Watusi, others as tall as 7 feet, and 200 fallen angels, described in later scripture as the Hindus, who'd been cast out of heaven. Revelation 12:7-9 speaks of a war in heaven, when Michael and his angels fought the dragon, the serpent, the devil, and his angels, who were then flung down to earth. It doesn't say that either side won or lost outright, only that Satan did not prevail and was expelled. Many Christians misunderstand hell as a post-mortem realm. Hell is, in fact, a physical place on earth, a consequence of that heavenly conflict. We teach this rare, end-time information completely free, no collection plates, no fees. Bring a notebook, record what you hear, then verify it for yourself. If you simply believe what we say without checking, you risk turning our words into a new religion, just as other faiths erect entire worldviews on untested beliefs. Consider the scripture, in Revelation 12:7-9, and there was war in heaven, and the great dragon was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Those fallen ones dwelt in Nod, beyond Eden. Nod's inhabitants must have existed before Adam, yet they're never named in Genesis. Nod's women, whom Cain later married and who bore him a son, clearly had parents of their own, yet the Bible omits them. Moreover, Genesis 6:1-4 describes the sons of God, angelic beings, seeing the daughters of men and taking them as wives, producing mighty offspring, giants on the earth. This isn't a human-only event, but a celestial intervention to counterbalance the earlier fallen who'd bred with humanity. Later, after 10 generations, God commanded Noah to be fruitful, multiply, and refill the earth again, Genesis 9:1, evidence that repopulation followed a prior civilization's demise. Yet the flood spared only 8 people, Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, and their sons' wives. How, then, Did later giant figures like Goliath reappear unless some other line survived elsewhere? These inconsistencies point to a more complex prehistory than the traditional single-payer narrative allows. Our master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, has devoted decades to unveiling this hidden record, encouraging each seeker to don't believe me, check it out. Becoming a NWPU is a lifelong journey of learning, application, and transformation. Just as students progress through school by passing tests, NWPUians advance by studying, teaching, and living these principles. Over time, you shift from ignorance, literally ignoring facts, to genuine knowing. Dr. York designed his teachings to cover a decade's worth of profound information each year, ensuring that committed students absorb a vast body of knowledge in a relatively short span. Whether you've studied for years or just discovered the teachings, daily practice, reading, research, discussion, teaching, gradually frees you from belief-based religion and ignorance, guiding you toward the divine attribute of knowing. For millennia, religious communities have claimed exclusive access to truth. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. But that very promise implies two things. First, that they do not already know the truth, and second, that they are enslaved by falsehoods. If truth must liberate you, you are bound by lies. To test these claims, Dr. Malachi Z. York compiled 360 questions to ask a Sunni Orthodox Muslim, which actually contains over 1,000 interlinked questions. Despite repeated invitations, neither Sunni Muslims nor Christians have offered substantive answers. Christians typically respond, "You just have to believe," while no Sunni scholar has taken up even one of the 360 challenges. This silence suggests that belief alone may rest on unexamined assumptions rather than on tested facts. Dreams arise from a seamless connection between the mental/spiritual realm and the physical body. Consider how a nightmare, say, being chased by a lion, can trigger genuine perspiration and rapid heartbeat. This pouring water into water illustrates that our spiritual and physical selves operate as one system, not separate domains. Moreover, certain dreams, for example, encounters with a succubus, reflect real spiritual interactions, which is why personal exorcism techniques and spiritual disciplines are taught, to recognize and address such incursions directly. Our very constitution is a composite of 30 ancestral voices, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and beyond. The biblical warning that the sins of the fathers descend to the fourth generation explains why inherited patterns and unresolved ancestral spirits afflict us. Because our forebears never acknowledged and repented their mistakes, their unaddressed transgressions echo down to us. Thus, each individual must undertake a personal exorcism by first knowing thyself, discerning one's own true soul from the myriad ancestral impulses that compete for control. Only by mastering this inner counsel can one live freely and responsibly. Even the most profound writings reveal deeper insights on subsequent readings. Just as you might notice a detail in a favorite film only on the 5th or 13th viewing, so too hidden layers of meaning surface when you return to texts like the actual facts, or the master's other scrolls. Regular rereading sharpens understanding, refreshes memory, and often prompts new, clarifying questions. Just as Chinese people speak Chinese among themselves, so Nagaru people must speak Sabian, also called American by outsiders, to identify themselves. Language marks tribal identity. When Sabian speech is heard, fellow Sabians recognize it instantly, just as restaurant staff speak their native tongue among themselves when taking orders. Embracing and speaking your own language is a declaration of belonging and an assertion of sovereignty over your land. In ancient records, there are many vessels called Nibiru, much like multiple U.S. ships share the USS prefix. One great mothership harbored smaller craft and appeared as a spinning orb that became a cube when stationary. It hailed from the planet Rizq, located at the center of a tri-solar system in the 19th galaxy, Ilion. Rizq is a vast water world with just 3 continents. Its atmosphere once shielded life from ultraviolet rays of 3 suns. Over eons, a shield depleter struck, thinning that protective layer, just as ours is now weakened. The word Rizq itself means to provide, linking to the attribute or Rakab, provider, in the Quran's 99 names of God, an echo of our shared cosmic heritage. We are experiencing the 6th thunder, marked by astronomical events, new planets, galaxies, meteorite storms, climatic disruptions, global warming, and spiritual awakenings, reflecting widespread disregard for contemporary world governments. The 7th thunder signifies an apocalyptic period, originally predicted for 2003, featuring moral breakdown and youth violence, children attacking peers and parents. Recent school shootings in Seattle illustrate these warnings. Due to these threats, it is advised to homeschool children. Traditional schools no longer simply transfer knowledge. Modern educators filter and limit information, keeping students dependent and uninformed. In Genesis 21:3, God's repeated rest on the seventh day, mentioned 3 times, underscores the sanctity of the Sabbath and divine endorsement of regular, sacred rest. Genesis 2:5 indicates the first humans were created to till the ground, emphasizing labor as a primary human function. The Anunnaki, scientists and thinkers sent by Anu, came to Earth to harvest abundant gold, as their home planet lacked it. They created primitive workers, Lulu Amilu, to perform mining tasks they could not. Survivors from a destroyed water world, the Maldakians, were brought to Earth's oceans. Grieving their lost world, they rebelled and have sought to reclaim Earth through cultural manipulation, music, religion, diet. Various reptilian species, Draconians, Maldakians, inhabit specific Earth regions under strict territorial rules. Anunnaki alliances with these groups varied, often based on hybrid descendants tied to Anu's lineage. The biblical stories of Jacob, Ishmael, and other figures are adapted from earlier cosmic narratives, simplified into religious teachings. Deeper esoteric meanings are explored in higher degree lessons. To commune with cosmic or divine ancestors, one must first connect with one's terrestrial ancestors, parents, grandparents, and earlier generations, who serve as intermediaries. Dr. Malachi York's accomplishments are unparalleled. In the 1990s, he set a Guinness World Record for the sheer volume of books he read. Since then, he's continued writing, authoring hundreds of full-length books, producing countless lecture recordings on CDs and cassette tapes, and compiling classes that have never been published in print or recorded. No one else has answered every question under, and above, the sun as thoroughly as he has. Whenever a new question arises, Dr. York researches it and soon releases a 200-plus page volume on the topic. For example, in 1 week he published Who is God? A 237-page exposition. In subsequent weeks he released equally detailed works on subjects like black devils, extraterrestrials, and the mission of Enki. When asked if anyone could surpass his output or depth of knowledge, he humbly replied he possesses only 76 trillion years of knowledge, enough for you to transform from mortality to immortality. If you believe someone exists who surpasses Dr. York, the burden is on you. Write and publish a scholarly work disproving him. Over decades, countless critics have tried and failed. Ka, spirit seed, born when sperm penetrates egg, this is the spark of new life. Ba, child soul, develops as the fetus grows in utero, sustaining individuality. Ruach, breath soul, enters at first breath, corresponds to the spirit in Hebrew, the wind of life. Nephos, personality, matures around age 7, marking the development of character and imagination. The barottary gland was once theorized to secrete a hormone called mafkuz, unlocking latent brain and DNA potential, so-called junk DNA. That gland no longer exists in the modern human body and is not housed within the Supreme Grand Lodge. However, Dr. York's teachings prescribe a spiritual and physiological restoration, eventually reinserting the gland in the submental area, under the chin, but only after one has followed the prescribed regimen and regained the proper mental and moral discipline. To recognize true brothers in the spiritual realm, one must follow the prescribed orders of the master teacher. These orders function like the ancient Egyptian mystery schools, they require commitment and sacrifice, and certain teachings remain secret to preserve their sanctity. If you're unwilling to dedicate yourself, give up worldly distractions, adhere to the dress and conduct codes, you'll never access the deeper truths or distinguish genuine brothers from imposters. In Dr. York's cosmology, the biblical Elohim are the Anunnaki, advanced beings from Mesopotamia. Enki journeyed to ancient Africa to learn gravitational and genetic sciences from the sages Sahet and Ptah. He returned to Mesopotamia and, using hybrid technology, including genes from the Pleiades, created the red ruddy proto-humans called the Amilu, Adam. Through further genetic manipulation and grafting, mixing mitochondrial DNA strands, 18 plus 18 plus 1 equals 37 segments, the Caucasian race emerged, marked by leprosy traits introduced during the experiments. The portrayal of God-demanding animal, and later human, sacrifices stems from ancient authors projecting their own ritual practices into divine narrative. In Genesis, Abel's animal offering is favored over Cain's vegetable one, reflecting a cultural valorization of blood offerings. Over time, this evolved into the concept of a divine human sacrifice in Christianity, symbolized by Jesus, to atone for humanity's sins, rather than serving as a critique of such violence. The designation Order of Melchizedek comes not from Jesus himself but from Paul's writings in the Epistle to the Hebrews. Paul, who never met Jesus, reinterpreted earlier Jewish traditions through a Hellenistic lens, merging Greco-Roman ideas with Hebrew lore. This syncretism birthed Christianity as a new doctrine distinct from its purported historical roots. Early Christian art adopted Greco-Roman iconography, long hair, bearded visage, flowing robes, from depictions of Zeus. This visual borrowing reinforced Christianity's hybrid nature, combining the Israelite Jah with the Greek Zeus into the figure later known as Jesus. Drinking wine and eating a wafer in Christian rituals symbolizes partaking of Christ's body and blood. Symbolically, participants consume the deity, reinforcing spiritual union, but critics argue this unexamined ritual echoes literal rites of bloodthirsty gods in earlier religions. There is no single, coherent Christian god distinct from the amalgamation of ancient Near Eastern and Greco-Roman deities. The term Elohim in Hebrew is plural, denoting a council of divine beings. Translation and interpretation have obscured this plurality, creating a singular deity who more closely resembles a blood-eating entity than the benevolent figure worshipped today. Religion fosters faith, belief without evidence, where adherents accept doctrines on authority rather than verification. In contrast, a worldview based on fate, from the ancient emphasizes cause and effect, personal experience, and observable consequences, allowing individuals to seed their own outcomes through rational action. Some reform movements reject the Christian holiday's pagan origins. Instead of Christmas, they celebrate Children's Day, focusing on gift-giving and presents without the mythic trappings of Santa or theological claims. 90 originally referred to an Anunnaki figure, but in certain traditions it became a title for the ceremonial side lock or asset braid. Over time, Nindi braid simply denoted this style rather than any literal reference to the deity. According to cyclical cosmologies, Earth undergoes alternating epochs of chaos and order. Every 25,000 years, a messenger restores balance, much like winter yielding to spring, ensuring life's renewal through predictable cosmic rhythms. Adherents are urged to pursue personal transformation, ascending from mortal to God, to be ready for any future contact with their originators. In this framework, original Earth-born humans interbred with various extraterrestrial angelic beings. Genetic grafting, mixing African ancestors with Pleiadian, Nordic type, and other lineages, produced lighter-skinned populations, Caucasians, and spawned myriad genetic mutations, for example, albinism, polydactyly, explaining racial and phenotypic diversity. In Aramaic, Eli combines El, God, with the possessive I, meaning my God. Some argue the original term was Al-Haadi, where Shadi can mean demon, so Al-Haadi, my demon, has been mistranslated and worshipped as my God. Our nation's founding documents, like the original Constitution, were written to exclude black people, necessitating later amendments to include you. Yet we still expect a system built on racism to act fairly. When it fails, we appeal to that very system for justice, rather than building our own power and institutions. We believe we need white society to survive, when in fact they rely on us, for labor, culture, strength. Think of any job. If you're paid $100K a year, your employer must profit at least twice that from your work. By fueling industries, governments, and economies that oppress us, we perpetuate our own subjugation. The true message is do for self, build our own schools, businesses, and communities, as demonstrated in historic black towns like Tulsa's Greenwood. Everything we need, wealth, resources, cultural roots, exists in Africa. We remain afraid to return and rebuild our heritage, while the society that enslaved us cannot thrive without our contributions. Notice the contradiction. A black teenager will fight if you step on their sneakers, but when police kill another young person, we march, sing "We Shall Overcome," and plead for reform. Both reactions stem from believing that someone else will fix things, rather than taking collective control of our destiny. In the scroll Eternal Life After Death, the 144,000 aren't human converts but beings rescued by extraterrestrials, as depicted in the fourth kind, and taken to safety. Other grades are alien scouts, extraterrestrial biological entities sent to explore the galaxy. Tama Ray in Georgia, built by the master teacher, was a model city showcasing our capacity to create elaborate, self-sustaining societies, unlike ghettos. It was targeted for destruction to prevent it from inspiring others. Growing old grants you time to reflect on youthful mistakes, dumb things you did for fun or out of ignorance, atone for them, and commit to wiser choices. Whether through a harsh wake-up call or simply the slowing pace of life, age offers a chance to transform disagreeable behaviors into agreeable ones. A master teacher is one who has fully mastered both the spiritual and physical realms, 360 degrees each, for a total of 720 degrees. He can therefore teach any subject under, and above, the sun, from mechanics to metaphysics, without overloading our brains. We've been lied to for 6,000 years. The master teacher was allotted a 30-year period to break the spell of religion and deliver true knowledge. Although that initial 30 years was critical, the work continues. Our transformation from mortals to immortals, humans to gods, is ongoing. If you compare yourself to stars, you feel insignificant. Compared to ants, you feel immense. Placing yourself between those extremes reveals both your greatness and humility, and offers hope for growth. As a 3/4 water being, you cannot become denser, more solid, only more refined, toward the gas or spiritual state. No one smarter or more divinely appointed will come after the master teacher. He remains the final guide. His authorship is recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records for the sheer volume and depth of his teachings. Coming from a world with 3 suns to a planet with only one makes Earth's environment unsuitable for their biology. They can incarnate either by occupying a body without fully merging or by fully subsuming the host, because our master teacher's body has hosted different entities over time, each imparting new teachings. His doctrine evolves. From his earliest writings, he has used trusted scribes and collaborators to transcribe, and sometimes even publish under another's imprint, his teachings. The pyramids of Giza serve as an irreplaceable book of our origins. Destroying them would erase crucial knowledge. Later civilizations claimed credit for building them to glorify themselves and appropriate that ancient wisdom. Researchers borrow insights from the master teacher's lectures, filling gaps in their hypotheses with his unpublished discoveries, so modern science doesn't truly grasp the pyramid's full purpose. Many films, including The Matrix, Terminator, Avatar, and Star Wars, draw on his teachings. Luke Skywalker's TIE fighter emblem echoes symbols from Muhammad Al-Mahdi's Sudan campaigns, and major directors have repeatedly mined his scrolls for plot devices, visuals, and symbolism. Earth's circumference is roughly 24,000 miles, matching the 24,000-mile cycle of the precessional equinox, 1 mile per year over 24,000 years. Human DNA comprises 24,000 genomic points, forming a tetrahedral field that resonates with Earth's geometry and the cosmos. Your DNA vibrates at a specific frequency, as shown by cymatics. Any artificial change, whether contact lenses for cosmetic effect or hair dye, shifts that frequency and disturbs your natural bioresonance. Hair color and texture act like antennas, optimized for absorbing solar energy. Black absorbs, white reflects. Dyeing or chemically straightening hair disrupts that encoding, causing a deficit in energy intake and weakening the body's resilience. Willfully altering yourself, hair, lenses, implants, etc., dishonors your lineage and the creator whose design you embody, since your parents' DNA assembled you to carry specific genetic frequencies. RNA, ribonucleic acid, forms the 2 complementary strands that, when joined, become DNA. Each strand on its own is called RNA. Together in binary sequence they encode the full DNA blueprint. Souls are neither synonymous with spirit nor with life itself. Rather, they constitute an invisible aspect that influences both the trajectory and duration of a person's existence without being the animating life of the body. At physical death, a soul must either transmigrate into another state or enter one of the person's blood seed descendants, thereby ensuring the ongoing continuity of the family line. True eternal life is thus maintained through perpetual reproduction, not through individual immortality. To bolster a bloodline that is dwindling, some Caucasoids, referred to here as Caucasu, have historically interbred with Negaru, Negroid, Africans, employing religious and cultural incentives, such as music, to promote interracial mixing. The resulting half-breeds often dominate modern media, illustrating this strategy to sustain a fading lineage. Conversely, among Africans, Negaru, the survival of any 2 breeding individuals inherently preserves the entire race. All Negaru share a single ancestral tree, so living heirs embody the souls and blood seed of all their forebears. Although a soul itself cannot burn out, a person's capacity to access or harness their soul's powers can diminish. This limitation arises from the laws of nature that shape both physical and spiritual realms simultaneously, a dual system revealed by our master teacher. The extrahuman entity commonly called Krill is one of 3 gray beings who incarnate to our master teacher every 10 years to impart fresh revelations. Separate from reptilian Draco species, the Rumardian beings predate the Adam and Eve narrative, stand about 4 feet tall, weigh around 40 pounds, and possess 5 fingers. They are benevolent but distinct from other gray variants such as the Maldakians. Our clan mother's book, compiled from her weekly visits to our master teacher since 2003, chronicles these extraterrestrial encounters in detail. It documents the dialogues and insights shared during visits, including the annual rendezvous on June 26, our master's birthday, when Krill downloads new information for our revolutionary process. Throughout human history, the Elohim, Anakim, Anunnaki, and other deities of Earth's religions have actually been various extraterrestrial visitors. They continue to hover over us today in the guise of UFOs and USOs. culminating in stages of rapture that even they dread. Millions vanish each year, their disappearances misattributed to mundane causes by complicit governments. Our master teacher has revealed that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad remains alive aboard an extraterrestrial craft, the Mothership, serving as a forerunner and guide for the current cosmic mission. The Torah, Bible, and Quran represent schools of knowledge tied to past epochs that have now expired as humanity enters the hereafter. A new, more encompassing book of Lamb awaits revelation, promising insights beyond those of existing scriptures. Humanity's journey unfolds in 24,000-year cycles divided into 4 6,000-year epochs. The final seal opened in 1970, what Elijah Muhammad called the double resurrection, signaling the end of the old world and the dawn of a new era that transcends previous religious limitations. Information is being unfairly restricted. Despite ongoing affirmation that we should continually receive new insights, there are voices insisting we must stop learning beyond what we already know. Our master teacher structured our learning in successive stages, 3 10-year phases, 1967 to 1997, culminating in higher knowledge and under to overstanding, with mastery demonstrated through 3 foundational books, the degrees of Mosesism, Christism, and Mohammedism. Beyond those, we progress through 4 deeper disciplines, Sufism, Kabbalism, Magism, and then 7 advanced chambers, encompassing Sumerian and Far Eastern teachings via the Sons of the Green Light Sufi order and the ancient mystic order of the Magi. After those, we open the 8th and 9th chambers of the ancient Egyptian order. The Pyramid of Truth symbol, bearing the Eye of Ra at its apex, signifies that Egypt represents the pinnacle of all spiritual information, transcending even Sumerian studies. Our teacher always directed us back to Egypt as the ultimate source. The correlation between Orion's belt and the Giza pyramids isn't coincidence but intentional alignment. The 3 belt stars match the 3 Giza pyramids' positions and angles, revealing heaven on earth when viewed from the sky. The latest revelation refines this further. Those 3 stars symbolize the 3 sons of Risk in the 19th galaxy, Ilion, a tri-solar system from which our master teacher originates. He provided diagrams and letters to confirm this advanced teaching. Some challenge updates to the holy tablets, claiming that the tablets were the final word. In truth, our teacher never intended the holy tablets to be the complete corpus. In 1999's Little Green Men lecture, he introduced the Black Book, Sacred Records of Autumn Ray, as a thicker, more detailed successor, comprising of 19 chapters. Skeptics often use outdated teachings against newer revelations. They ignore that our teacher encouraged us to don't believe me, check it out and to apply our 9-mind reasoning to synthesize knowledge across scrolls and lectures, rather than following linear, chronological order. Our tradition has faced sabotage, co-intel misinformation, and those implanted to divert our mission. Yet genuine seekers write, question, and verify. No one has ever disproved anything our teacher has revealed. The master teacher's letters, compiled in our collections, offer direct responses to every objection. Those who refuse to engage nervously hide behind broad, impersonal doctrine, rather than confronting teachings specific to our lineage. Finally, our mission remains active. We're on a long journey on a short path, constantly integrating fresh insights and avoiding distractions. As we advance, we draw pieces together through circular reasoning empowered by our 9-mind faculties, ensuring continuous growth until the mission's true completion.